What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Want to do a follow-up video to a video I did about a week ago. Now, you guys see on the screen the video, Luis King Kong Ortiz, Golden Boy, Turmoil. Heavyweight division's dark horse managing career. And I did an in-depth 23-minute video, as you guys can see, regarding the career and this stage of his career for King Kong Ortiz. Now, it has been reported he has officially split promotional ways with Golden Boy. He's no longer a Golden Boy fighter, no longer on their roster, and they're trying to get his fight with Alexander Ustinov in Russia in October. So more on that as that story develops and becomes finalized. I want to spend some time talking about this. As I stated in the first video, I think, in my opinion, Golden Boy really dropped the ball with this because they're sitting on a gym who's not necessarily getting any younger. Luis King Kong Ortiz, I believe he's in his mid-30s, but the thing is, his prime is right now. If you guys know anything about the Cuban experience and turning pro, you can't do it over there in Cuba, so you have to defect, come to America, things like that. So you'll notice some of the stars from Cuba, they're not youthful like Canelo Alvarez. Like, you look at Canelo, he turned pro in Mexico in 15, and somewhere in the 2000s came over with his then promoter, and Golden Boy was looking at him working together, and he's been on the star path to success ever since he came to the States. You know what I mean? He's having that crossover success, but it doesn't work like that with a lot of the Cubans. So you'll notice some of the Cubans like Rigondeaux, they're older, you know what I mean? Boxing old, not old as people, but just older as fighters. Usually like De La Hoya, I want to say, when he retired, he was probably around Luis King Kong Ortiz's age or just around it, you know what I mean? I think he might have been like 35 or 36. They say Ortiz, I don't know his actual age, that's a good question, but let me look at it. He's listed at 37 years old. So yeah, again, guys like De La Hoya, he was probably maybe 2 years younger than this, I'd want to say off of a guess. But the point is, he's up there in age, but he's still a skillful fighter. So to me, I think Golden Boy really dropped the ball on this because they have a gym while they're putting all their promotional energies into Canelo, who's not necessarily, he's getting a lot of backlash. Let's just be real. He's getting a lot of backlash for pulling out of the Golovkin fight when everyone thought he was going to be facing Golovkin in a mega fight, things like that. So it's not necessarily a good look for Canelo right now. He's fighting Liam Smith. We'll see how that does. I think Golden Boy said they've sold over 20,000 tickets, which is good. It's not bad for the level of fight that it is. However, that stadium seats 80 to 90,000 people. So even selling 20,000, I mean, you're going to have a lot of empty seats unless they pick up in the fights next month. So we'll see. I'll let you know what it actually does. No need to speculate. But I think they kind of dropped the ball because they put a lot of energy into Canelo, which is good. He's a star. You want to make money with your #1 star. But I haven't really seen the Golden Boy treatment of Luis King Kong Ortiz as special as of a fighter he is. Like, to me, that's why I called him the dark horse. And I'm not talking about complexion. I'm talking about the motherfucker in the division that a lot of people probably don't want to fight. You look at it, Deontay Wilder, I'm not saying, this is my opinion, I'm not saying these guys won't fight him, I don't know, but from my reporting and videos I've made, I don't really see many guys calling out Ortiz. It's like he's kind of the guy that people know is in the division, but no one really talks about, right? I don't remember Deontay Wilder really talking about him, but I've heard Wilder talk about Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. I've heard Anthony Joshua talk about Wilder, Fury, David Price, guys like that. You know what I mean? I've heard Tyson Fury talk about Wilder, etc. But I never really hear these guys, even the great "Let's go, champ" Cannon Briggs, who's terrorizing guys like David Haye and Klitschko. I don't recall him ever doing this to Luis King Kong Ortiz, like following him and things of that sort. So I think people know the threat level, and Luis Ortiz at the moment is a very high risk, low reward type of fighter, meaning there's a chance you could get your ass beat in there with him, and he's not necessarily bringing the massive payouts, right? Like Kell Brook versus Golovkin. There's definitely a chance that Kell Brook can get sent out on a stretcher, you know what I mean, just knocked out, or, you know what I mean, put in bad shape. But Golovkin is a big enough star where him coming to the UK and that whole ordeal is making Kell Brook a lot of money and making Golovkin a lot of money. So the risk becomes a little bit more. But with a guy like Ortiz, he has debilitating stop you power. He stopped this guy on the screen, Tony Thompson, who pulled the upset in fights like David Price twice, things like that. And he's big. I didn't realize how big Tony Thompson was. He's like 6'6", and he's big, but he has the power to hurt you. Plus, he can get on his toes. I mean, when I seen him get on his toes in the Brian Jennings fight, I was like, oh my gosh, a 240-pound heavyweight with cracks that's on his toes, like he's a problem. So, to me, I personally think Golden Boy dropped the ball. I think they should have. I don't know exactly what went on, but clearly there's some reason that Ortiz was not happy with this deal. Maybe the exposure, maybe he felt his time was running out. So we'll see what happens next for him. Maybe he goes over to Rock Nation, the Al Heyman side, but he definitely should get the ball rolling. Dade Promotion and whoever they partner with, I'm assuming they would partner with a Rock Nation or a PBC, because they have a talented fighter. He's 37. He's the type of fighter, if you market him right, he will sell. He can impress. He just looks mean. He looks like, have you ever dated a chick? Like, I used to date chicks and then like meet their dads and shit, and the dad just looks like he wants to kill you. Like, that's what Ortiz reminds me of, just like a girl you're dating, like her mean ass dad. I don't know. And that's a compliment, because he's intimidating. He's a big dude. He's powerful. He can box, the whole nine. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with his career. I just think Golden Boy, while they had him, they should have, based on the talent level of this fighter. Like, you got guys, I'm not comparing in a negative way. I love David Lemieux. I like watching David Lemieux. But David Lemieux, skill-wise, has a ceiling. If someone can withstand his power and deal with his power, then he's beatable. And the reason I know this is because he's been beaten 3 times, I think. Golovkin, not only did Golovkin beat him, he dismantled him with a jab. He showed you the blueprint. He beat him for every round out of every round. I don't remember when it ended, like round 8 or 9. He beat him every single round. He got knocked out by Marco Antonio Rubio with a different team, whatever. It's still a loss. It's still a knockout loss. He lost to Joachim Alcine, who turned out to not really be what he was advertised. He got stopped by Martin Murray in the first round, lost to the Charlo later, things like that. But the guy you see on the screen, Luis King Kong Ortiz, I see him being a tough nut to crack. Pause. Because he's a very talented fighter. So but in addition to promoting the David Lemieux of the world, the Lucas Matisses, I think they should have invested a good amount of energy in this man, Luis King Kong Ortiz, because he's that threat level to me. You just seen, I mean, the Cubans got to get some respect out here. We just seen Shakur Stevenson in the Olympics, the Rio Olympics, lose to a two-time Olympic gold medalist. Where is he from? From Cuba. So these Cubans that are defecting and stuff, you got to give them their props. That's a hard life to endure. In addition, the Cuban boxing school is a problem. And the difference between like a Luis Ortiz is he does come from that, but he's more cut from the cloth, like a Mike Perez or Gamboa, where even though they come from the Cuban boxing school, and I'm sure they know how to do little things like feint and use their footwork and stuff like that, he's also a knockout artist. So he doesn't really even rely. I didn't even know he can get on his toes like that until the Brian Jennings fight. So he's been showing us more of his offensive knockout arsenal, the seek and destroy stuff. But there's more shades to what he could do, and that was apparent in the Brian Jennings fight. So you can't label him like let's say Edeslani Lara. I like watching Lara because he has a crazy left hand. He's a skillful fighter. But sometimes I even agree that Lara could step on the gas. I watched the Vanes Martirosyan rematch live. I covered that fight, and I thought he could have stepped on the gas because Vanes was, being a veteran, he was pushing the fight, trying to make it, like, even though he was getting pot shotted and I thought Lara won the fight, Lara makes it look a little bit closer because you got one guy who's like banging his gloves and he's like ripping vicious body shots and he's like really trying to push the fight, and Lara stays in that same gear and he's economical. So for the people who say, oh, I don't like Lara's style or whatnot, you can't say that with King Kong Ortiz because he's not really provided that in his fights. The Tony Thompsons, the fight with the guy from Argentina, the interim champion, stuff like that. I mean, he's knocking people out. So it's not like he's economical with his punches and evading shots to the point where he's quote unquote boring. So in my opinion, I think the talent level speaks for itself, and I mean, you just look at the guy on screen right now. Look at the size of him. He's a massive dude. He's a puncher. He showed he can box. He had a little bit of the black cloud with the steroid thing, the PED, failed drug test. But that doesn't change. Like Golden Boy from Francisco Vargas had that. You know what I mean? He had the clenbuterol in his system. The same thing Eric Morales had, right? And that fight still happened. The Orlando Salido, Francisco Vargas. So, I mean, he failed a drug test too and was still able to compete. So if people want to use that, there's plenty of fighters who have actually tested positive for something, claim something different. Because to this date, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section with the credible link, I don't think Luis King Kong Ortiz has ever stated like, oh yeah, you caught me, I was on something. He was like, no, I didn't do nothing. I didn't knowingly ingest something. So, I mean, it's really no different than what Francisco Vargas has claimed in terms of, I didn't do it, you know what I mean? But you still turned up a dirty test. So you can't really use that. There's really no reason why Ortiz shouldn't be getting more exposure. So shout out to him for buying himself out of his contract, feeling the need for a change, and hopefully he gets some good options right now. He's, like I said, he's 37 and he's a talented fighter. So I want to see what's next, and he could really shake up the division. I mean, I could just imagine Ortiz versus Wilder, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. I mean, these are great. And Joseph Parker. There's a lot of guys. These are sensational fights, right? And let's say Ortiz fought Tyson Fury and knocked him out, something Klitschko couldn't do. That would be the second opponent that Klitschko couldn't put away that Ortiz has put away, right? Bryant Jennings be the first person. Klitschko hurt him in that 12th round, but he couldn't pull the trigger and get him out of there. So that's a star-making type of performance. So hopefully whoever picks up his promotional contract and works with him for the years to come, hopefully they see the talent level and they see what they have in front of them and they use it to their advantage and put him in the right fights, get him the right level of exposure. If he comes up short, he comes up short. But I do think personally he's the dark horse of the heavyweight division, and he can definitely beat some of the top level guys right now. I mean, he has the experience, the skill set to do it. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comment section, share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.